It is football season. It is officially here. Thursday is the kickoff. And today we're going to talk about why QB prospecting, while so wildly popular, why a lot of people are just not doing it right. Let's talk through this. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. How are we doing? It is another day. It is another card video. We are to football season. I am pumped, and football cards are fun. The Saints have the Falcons this week, and while the Falcons are not, like roster-wise, not really a lot to be excited about, frankly, if you're a Falcons fan. We don't know what Marcus Mariota is going to look like. Falcons in general just kind of in a rebuild, in my opinion. But you know what? Any given Sunday, I don't want to talk trash because honestly, these are the weeks that we end up losing for no good reason. So it's the Falcons. It's a rivalry week, and we're coming off some bad news ourselves. As a Saints fan, we got our starting left tackle, Trevor Penning, goes down with a foot injury. We got some good news that he'll be back in November is what they're looking at, as opposed to just missing the entire season. But still, that was supposed to be a 1A, 1B. I guess Hurst is going to be our starting left tackle, but he was supposed to play a lot. So not good when you're losing linemen right before the season. And then our starting safety, Mays, gets arrested, and then we're trading away Chauncey to the Eagles. He is arguably the best slot cornerback in the NFL, top 5 probably. And we just traded him to Philadelphia for a bag of Fritos. Didn't get much in return, so a little bit amped up about the Saints. I need some good news. I need a good win on Sunday. Guys, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, the big red button down below, as well as the like button. If you do like what you hear, it helps us get the word out. We appreciate it. Also, connect with me on IG. It's where I show a lot of kind of my pickups and different things, different thoughts, etc. IG at Sports Card Dad, and I'm also on Twitter, the Sports Card Dad. Shout out to channel partner Card Shop Live. You got to check them out. They've got a great app, great selling platform, and they're doing a giveaway. It's 2 winners, $50 every other week. I'll provide all the details in the video description, and I'll also pin a comment with how to get to the app, etc. So much quarterback prospecting when we talk about football cards, and so much money pouring into QB prospecting these days. Guys like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I mean, these 3 guys are exciting. Don't get me wrong. I mean, very, very exciting. All 3 of them. And they're not even in the top echelon. They're not even the Patrick Mahomes or the top Tom Brady's. You can argue that they're right there. They're coming up, but the prospecting going on with QBs these days is incredible. But the fact, though, too, that a lot of that funding is being poured into very few players, really. I mean, if you look at some of the other guys around the league, Matt Stafford is such a good example of this, where he just came off a Super Bowl win, and his cards are just kind of like no one's spending huge money on Matt Stafford cards, which is kind of interesting. Everybody is anticipating, speculating on the next kind of Super Bowl winner, the next big player, whatever it is. But I think that that's part of the problem is that everybody, a lot of people are moving in the same direction. And it's pushing prices up for the Herberts and the Burrows and some of these guys. And it's not to say that these guys haven't earned recognition, but you look at there's 32 teams in the NFL. Only 1 is going to win the Super Bowl, but not even that. I mean, a lot of guys are going to fall off. There's going to be high expectations on certain teams. You have to remember, too, the NFL is the ultimate team sport. So you have all this money that's flowing into QBs, but what's probably more important than the QB play, or just as important? Team play, and also team schedule. What kind of schedule are they going to be facing on the front half of the year, the back half of the year? What can be kind of fun, and where I see some opportunities, I can understand where people do this, is you can kind of look at a team and think like, man, I really like this team in particular. I think that they're going to excel this year. I think they're going to go beyond expectations, and I really like the back half of their schedule. So maybe you're looking at like, okay, their front half of their schedule is rough, and so maybe that's when you're looking to pick up after the first few weeks of the season, because you already have a cooling down period once the season starts. Once you get through the first few weeks of the season, even for teams that are doing amazingly well, it's still a natural cooling off. People are like, oh, okay, football has started, and then they're starting to look for basketball season. So football cards cool off anyway, but then even if teams are doing really well, and granted, you might have a team that's 5-0 that's just red hot, and maybe that player's cards are up and whatever, fine, but there's going to be a ton of teams that are like 500. They're 3-3 or maybe 2-4, but then end up having a great back half of the season. And that's where I feel like you can look for opportunities. Also, short-term injuries. Injuries can be your friend when you're talking about buying and selling, trying to find arbitrage, because a lot of times an injury is announced and those cards will be dumped. All of a sudden, prices move downward. It depends on the player, really. And then even if you have kind of a season-ending injury, it can be an opportunity for the next year. You're anticipating the comeback. So if you are patient and you can just buy in during kind of the last half of the year, kind of when a player's injured, maybe they're on IR, it's a QB that's, a lot of people did well with Dak Prescott doing this. A lot of people did very well with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, his rookie year, was playing absolutely lights out, then just got annihilated, his knee, and then he was out. His cards went down considerably. We talked about that quite a bit, where you were comparing like Justin Herbert's prices and Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow was less than half of Justin Herbert after he got injured. Of course, because people are like, and then also they were worried, like, is this like career-ending knee injury? Because it was serious. It was a serious knee injury. So obviously risks there, but the people that went in and bought in on Burrow at that point did really, really well if they were looking to sell coming into the next season. And then obviously the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. You've got a lift there, so those are opportunities. Now, is every quarterback going to do the Joe Burrow turnaround thing? No, a lot of them won't. So that's the big risk. But look, we're talking about prospecting here. All prospecting is risky. It doesn't matter which player you're talking about. There are no locks. It's like when you're picking horses and racing, and horse racing, might be the projected, one finish or top three finish, might finish last. You just never know. And with the NFL being the ultimate team sport, as we had talked about, all it takes is a couple injuries to the offensive line. Oh, the starting running back's out. The receivers go down. The defense falls apart, and then all of a sudden they're always playing catch up. They can't win any games. There's so many factors that go into the quarterback's play that have to be taken into account when you're buying cards. And then the other part is there's only one game a week. It's not like basketball where you got 2 or 3 games a week. So you got one game a week where there's going to be huge overreactions. So you also have to think too, I guess, if you're buying, selling, you've got small windows to kind of play with. You might have 48 hours after a game or before a game, as these weeks go on. And then of course there's a big push the last couple of years for position players, receivers and running backs. Of course, highly risky because these guys go down a lot more often than QBs. But I think that's another interesting thing to see is there movement on that front? I think too, if you have kind of these rookie, receivers or rookie running backs that get in the game that, weren't expected to, you could see small dollar, cards maybe you're buying for a couple bucks that go up to $5 or $10. Those opportunities are certainly out there. But, with QB prospecting, I think the one thing that I learned going back a couple years is I bought into Will Greer, Ryan Finley, Mason Rudolph, with the thought of like, hey, if these guys get into the game, then, this could really boost their prices. And granted, like these were not expensive cards, so you were buying in at lower prices. And it's like, hey, if they get in the game, maybe at 5Xs or 10Xs or something like that. And a lot of these guys did, like Ryan Finley did get in the game and Mason Rudolph did get into the game. So there were some opportunities there, small windows of opportunity, but still highly risky. And the NFL is QB rich right now, where you've got teams that have really good second string QBs, let alone third string. I saw when the new Prism product came out, as a Saints fan, a lot of people were tagging me on like Ian Book rookie cards. And Ian Book is really, he was our third string quarterback. We have Jameis Winston, then we have Andy Dalton, we have Ian Book, and he's out of Notre Dame. There's some excitement around him. He's a prospect. And I saw some people that spent $1,000, $2,000 on gold vinyl, one of ones, and, really, rare Ian Book stuff. That's, I guess, you're really taking the big gamble. If Ian Book turns out to be the next Tom Brady, then you got that thing for $1,000 and maybe it's worth $100,000 or maybe it's worth a couple $100,000 or whatever. That's the upside. That's where you're prospecting. You just want to be right. You want to be right on a few of these. But for me, $1,000 or a couple $1,000 for a third string quarterback, just way outside of my parameters, way outside of what I'm looking at. I guess if you've got big money though, and you're already betting on games, you're already doing the sports betting thing, maybe $1,000 for a gold vinyl 1-on-1 Ian Book or a gold prism Ian Book rookie card is worth it to you. It's like, at least I've got a card, out of it. So, these are all things that you really have to be careful of, but also I think just being mindful of not chasing success. This quarterback is right out of the gate, coming out strong out of the gate. Prices are moving up. You missed it. You missed it. Really, the gains are made when people aren't paying attention. The gains are made for the guys that you think no one's really paying attention to them, but you're looking at their schedule, you're looking at the team around them, and you're thinking like, man, this team is underappreciated. I think that this QB is actually going to have a pretty decent season. Or I think they're going to have a good, first half of the season. I'll sell off during that first half of the season and then, regroup. But that's the kind of the way I think that prospecting has to be done, not just based on it's Justin Herbert and, I like his, he's got a big arm and I like his upside. You really got to look at a lot more details than that. Who did they add in the draft? Are they getting better? How does the division look? They're in a brutal division. How does his line look this year? What's the schedule look like? Many, many factors. Almost have to dig in kind of in the same fashion that baseball prospects do with, on base percentage. And, baseball prospect people are looking at all the stats. It's like the Moneyball thing where we're looking at like, what are their minor league stats? How are they progressing? And then they're buying first Bowman based on that, or I'm assuming that's how the guys that are successful, gals that are successful, trying to be successful prospecting. It's all a gamble, of course, but you're really breaking down a lot of detail outside of just like, I like this team. I like this upside. There's so much more moving parts to it than that. So with football season on the horizon, guys, I hope that you all are ready to enjoy the year. I'm ready for it. As a New Orleans Saints fan, I feel pretty good, although I'm a little nervous because Peter King, the SI writer, just basically picked us number 1 in the NFC, which is always bad. It's always horrible news when the mainstream media is picking the Saints to do good things. It's usually the other way around. When the Saints are like, they're a bust, they stink, that's when we actually have a decent year. So that part's making me a little bit nervous. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you QB prospecting? Are you just buying Bart Starr and Johnny Unitas and Fran Tarkenton and all the other stuff? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.